Does this sound like you? Because it definitely sounds like me when I was first starting in the nonprofit sector. I'm Tim Sarantonio, the creator of the Generosity Roundtable, which is a conversational role-playing game for nonprofit leaders just like this person. And the practical reality is that most nonprofit leaders, when they first enter the sector, as they get more experienced, the biggest thing that they're struggling with is an environment where tactics first thinking dominate. It's where you're going to look at a problem and you're going to go, what can I immediately do about this? We are strapped on time. We have limited resources. We have to do something to get things moving. What I want to do in this video is just kind of unpack what the purpose of a scenario card is, because it's a really important mechanic in the game. In fact, it might be one of the most important mechanics, because we're getting everybody on the same page about what we're going to be discussing. I have talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of nonprofit leaders. I've worked in corporate America. I've served on boards. And one of the biggest struggles that people have is getting on the same page, is getting aligned to make sure that we're talking about the right thing. So if we go back to the nonprofit leader that actually posed this question, what they're actually really trying to unpack here is plateaued engagement. During playtesting so far, it's been one of the most popular cards. And overall, the purpose of it is to say, we're going to be talking about this issue. We're going to be unpacking this. The way that the game's organized is that you're going to have different characters gather around a table and discuss how to approach the scenario. And overall, this forces strategic first thinking, because it's not what we're going to do. We're starting with, what are we actually even talking about? Then, and I'm going to get into this in another video, we can get into the prompt cards, or maybe I call them tactics cards. This is one of the things that we're going to figure out in my game design journey. But overall, that comes after we've all aligned on the one specific thing that we're going to be talking about. We're forcing a discussion about the same root strategic question. So the practical reality is that all of you are already staying up late for these things. And so I think it's very important for nonprofit leaders to get alignment before they start tackling the actual execution of a thing. And that's what you get to experience in about 15 minutes in a typical gameplay session. But what I think is really exciting so far is that we're getting on the same page, we're using the same language, we're getting aligned about what the scenario is and what the current situation would be. So when we look at a scenario card, we're knowing what's happening, and we also know what feels unresolved, and then we can go from there. The role of the host is to add extra context if it's known, but otherwise, that's it. Then you start discussing that, and then you have consensus about what to do next. So more to come on that. But overall, that's basics of scenario planning. You start with the strategy first. If you want to hear how I would actually help this specific individual, check out some short form video. I'm going to actually try to answer their question in about 60 seconds. Next week, we're going to start to unpack kind of the influences of the game before we start a really exciting, dedicated focus on archetypes for the month of February. I'll see you next week.